Hi guys, this is Avinash Sharma, and in this video we will discuss the list in data structure in R programming. As we discussed the vector in the last video, there are two types of the vector, atomic vector and the list. In case of the atomic vector, if we create the list, then we can store only the single data type of the element. Suppose like we are creating a vector of the integer elements, then all the elements must be the integer type. In the same case, character and the numeric or the logical. But when we create the list, in the list we can store the different data type of elements in the list. This is the difference between the atomic vector and the list. What is a list? In R programming we can call it the generic object. Generic object means like we can store the multiple data type of the elements and the collection of the objects. That's why we can call it the generic object. We can create the list from the vectors, from the matrix, or from the list of characters. To create a list, we can use the list functions in R programming. When we store the elements in the list, the index number for the elements in the list start from the 1 rather than 0. So as we discussed, to create a list, we can use the list function of the R programming. So now we check how to create the list practically. So this list, then list function. White green. So we have 4 elements or 4 color name in the list. Now we print this list. Now we check. So as you can see, we have the 4 elements, that is the red, blue, white, and one more important thing is this one, outer and the inner square bracket. This is the like index number. When we access the elements of the list, then we can use this square and outer and the inner square bracket. Now how to access the elements of the list? As we discussed, when we store the elements in the list, so each and every element has its own index number, and this index number it starts from the 1. So for the element red it's a 1, for the blue it's a 2, then 3 and 4. Suppose we need to access the say white, and the index number of the white is a 3. Say if I write this one, so we use a square bracket. Within the square bracket we mention the index number, and now if I execute this one, so we have the blue in 3rd position. Suppose sometimes we need to need to replace the value of some element. If I say right here equal to, that is called the assignment. We are assigning or we are replacing the value of the element which is on the index number 3rd. So brown. And now, so if we check this one, so you can see on the 3rd number it's brown now, because we have replaced the value of the 3rd element. Sometimes we need to search the element and we want to make sure that element exists in the list or not. So for that purpose we can use the in operator and close with the percentage sign. Say if I write here say red, then operator, then name of the list. If I check this one, then answer is true. But this searching is the case sensitive, means if I make it say R in lowercase, if I type this one now, so now we have the false. Sometimes we need to add the new element in the list. So for that purpose we can use the append function. So first of all, name of the list, then append function, append, then name of the list, and then new value. Now we check the list. So we have the orange. This is the last element. Append basically add the new element in the last of the elements of the list. But sometimes we need to add the new element some middle of the some element, say after the one element, after the second element. So for that purpose we can use the say after then equal to 2. It means on the first we have the red, then blue, after the blue. So we check now. So on the second position we have the blue, and now orange is on the third position. Now how to remove a selected element from the list? So for that purpose we can use the index number minus index number, say then say -2. -2 means we are removing the element whose index number is 2. We check this one. So you can see white now is on the second position because the blue has been deleted. Okay. Suppose sometimes we need to select the range of the elements, say from 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 or 1 to 4 or 2 to 5. So for that purpose we can to say 4 means index number from 2 to 4. So on the second position, second index number is a blue, and then white, then green. So green's index number is the 4th. Now we check this one. So we have the blue, white and green from 2 to 4. Now how to access all the elements of the list through a loop? For item in, then name of the list, then print. Now we check this one. So we have the list of all the elements one by one using the loop. Now we check one more complex example. As you can see, we have a vector named empid, then we have the list of the employee ID, integer value, all integer value. In second we have the emp name, character values. Then third variable is a single variable. This is the number of employee, or we can say it's a number of elements. And finally we are creating the emp list. Then in the list we have the list of the collections. As we discussed, we can store the elements or collection of the elements, or we can say object. So empid, on the first index number empid, then employee name, and finally total employee. So in this list these are the index number for the empid: index number 1, index number 2, emp name, then total emp, index number 3. Suppose if we access this one, now we check this one. So you can see emp list. First one, list of the employee, emp id, and finally name of the employee, second one, and the third one, fourth. Suppose you want to access some particular name of the employee or particular ID of the employee. So then say 2. So you can notice we have the double square bracket, inner and outer. After that, then 2. Second index number, it is for the EMP name, and this is second element, it's a Sunil. It means we are accessing the second element of the second object. So we check this one. Now we have the Sunil, that is the second position. But if the the size of the list is very large, so then it is not feasible to manage the list like this way. So in that case, we can naming the object. How? Say ID, and we can say names, and finally then total. So this is called the naming the object. Now we can access the elements of the through the name of the object. Now if I say employee list, then but now we have to use the dollar sign. After the dollar sign, the name of the this name. Now the index number of the element in this object. So suppose 1 2 3 4. If I write here 4, now we check. So 4. Now we check. So we have the mic. So this is called naming the object in the list collection. And through the naming object, we can access the elements of all the objects. Suppose you need to access all the elements of all the objects within this list. So in this list, we have the 3 objects: EMP ID, name, and the variable total. And each object has some elements. EMP ID has the 4 elements. EMP name has the 4 elements. Then this 1 element. So we have to apply the loop, 2 loop, outer loop and the inner loop. Say for outer object in this list. So this is the outer loop, and this outer loop will iterate 3 times. 1, 2 and 3. Now, but this is the object, outer object. This object has also some elements: EMP ID, EMP name. Now how to access this one? We have to apply one more loop, that is the inner loop, for element in print element. So this loop first of all will take this one, EMP ID and EMP ID. Then this outer object contains all the EMP ID. Then inner loop will access all the elements in this object. Say 1, 2, 3. Once the inner loop's execution is over, back to the outer loop. We'll take the name. Then we'll print all the names in the list, and finally this one. Now we check this one. So you can see, first of all we have the ID, then name, and finally the variable. So this is how you can use the loop for accessing all the elements in outer object and the inner object. So guys, This was all about the data structure list in the R programming language. Thanks for watching the video. Please like the video and subscribe the channel.